I've really been a major mood reader here lately, so I haven't really been like stacking my TBR too high and just kind of jumping in with whatever I feel like, but I was able to get through all of my TBR for May, which is something I haven't been able to do for a while, and so I went ahead and have a few books on my TBR for June, so let's just get into those really quick. So, first book up for June is The Bonecryer's Moon by Catherine Purdy, a YA fantasy. They alone can keep the dead from preying on the living, but the power to ferry the spirits of the dead into goddess Ilara's night heavens of Tyrus's underworld comes from sacrifice. The gods demand a promise of dedication at the cost of the Bonecryer's one true love. Definitely a romance. And of course, you know, this cover is just fantastically beautiful, so I had to pick it up. I read a lot of fantasy right now. It's kind of gotten me through the whole quarantine thing more than anything else, I would say, but the next book on my list is Tweet Cute by Emma Lord, and I believe this is also a YA romance, like a contemporary. We've got two kind of high school teens who both have jobs, and they both work family restaurant businesses, or one of them has a chain restaurant. Anyway, so they get into this Twitter war during their marketing or whatever is going on. It just looks like a good time. I've heard a lot of good things about this book. I've heard a lot of people read and really love this book, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing if I will love it or not. Next up is a book club read. So I actually started a local book club on Meetup back in October. We've been having Zoom meetings for April and May, but for June we are going to go back to meeting at our regular location, which is a local winery here in Lubbock, it's called Newsom Cellars, aka the Caprock Winery. And our book for this month is a historical fiction set in World War II France. It's called The Dressmaker's Gift by Fiona Valpy. This is one of the books that are on Kindle Unlimited that you can borrow both the ebook and the audiobook at the same time with your Kindle Unlimited subscription. I will also be listening to the audio as I read along with this one. It's not a very long book, 276 pages, so this should be a pretty quick read. Paris, 1940, with the city occupied by the Nazis, three young seamstresses go about their normal lives as best they can, but all three are hiding secrets. And so this just seems like a really interesting storyline to me. Like, one of them is having this love affair with a Nazi soldier. The other one, like, we don't even know what her secret is. I don't know, this just looks like a really interesting read if you like World War II historical fiction, especially set in France. Speaking of historical fiction, I also hope to get to Everyone Brave is Forgiven by Chris Cleave, and this is one I've had on my shelf for a while that I've really been interested in reading, but I just haven't gotten to. So historical fiction is something that I'm definitely a mood reader, and I don't always get into the mood of historical very often, unless a book is like really hyped and I really know I'm gonna like it. I don't typically tend to pick up a whole lot of historical fiction, but this one just sounded really interesting. The day war is declared, Mary North leaves finishing school unfinished, goes straight to the War Office and signs up. Young, bright, and brave, Mary is certain she'd be a marvelous spy. When she is bewilderingly made a teacher, she finds herself defying prejudice to protect the children her country would rather forget. So, I mean, it just seems like, you know, that female hero type secret spy kind of book, and so really looking forward to that one. I think if I don't get to any of these, it's probably going to be that one, but I am looking forward to reading it, so hopefully I will. I'm also planning to read Seeing Red by Sandra Brown. This is obviously a mystery suspense slash thriller. Sandra Brown, I mean, she's been around for a long time, she's pretty prolific, but this I think will be the first Sandra Brown book that I may have ever read, to be honest. Cara Bailey is a TV journalist hot on the trail of a story guaranteed to skyrocket her career to new heights. 25 years ago, Major Franklin Trapper became a national icon when he was photographed leading a handful of survivors to safety after the bombing of a Dallas hotel. For years, he gave frequent speeches and interviews, but then suddenly dropped out of the public eye, shunning all media. Now Kara is willing to use any means necessary to get an exclusive with the Major, even if she has to secure an introduction from his estranged son, former ATF agent John Trapper. So, I mean, you could probably guess there's probably going to be a little bit of romance in here, which is obviously my thing. That would be a good place to start with some Sandra Brown books. I've got a few on my shelf. Anyway, this will be the first one. Books that I don't have physical copies of that I plan to hopefully read this month include Holly Banks' Full of Angst by Julie Valerie. I've been wanting to read this one for a long time. I think this was another one that's on Kindle Unlimited that you can borrow both the ebook and audiobook at the same time, which is why I don't have a physical copy, because I'm probably just going to listen to the audiobook. It just sounds like a good, quirky little women's fiction story, so that will be probably one I definitely get to this month. And then Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I have not read a Brandon Sanderson book yet. So I know he writes a lot of epic fantasy, and I know he writes a little bit of sci-fi. And sci-fi is not really one of my typical genres, but I don't know. There's always those conversations people have, like if you're gonna jump into Brandon Sanderson, like where should you start? And a lot of people say to start with this one, so I'm gonna start with this one. And then if I have time, this one is like not super high up on the priority list, but I kind of want to read King Hall by Scarlett Dawn. And really this is kind of like, because they're releasing the Midnight Sun Twilight, the book one from Edward's perspective, coming out in August, which of course I've pre-ordered because I was definitely a Twihard back in the day, like 12 years ago, and so I would definitely plan to be reading that. I'm doing a reread of Twilight right now, like just kind of here and there as I fit in time. I saw that one was like really, I guess, pretty hyped. I'm gonna read the first book and see how I like it and see if it's like a series that I might want to carry on. And speaking of rereads that I'm doing as I have time, really like right now I'm in the process of reading Clockwork Angel, which is the first book in Cassandra Clare's Infernal Devices series. I read this one back probably the same time I read Twilight, way back in the day, like over a decade ago, but I just really have wanted to kind of get that nostalgic. I really loved this series. This is the only complete series that I've actually read of Cassandra Clare, and I did just buy Chain of Gold, so I wanted to do a reread of these before I read that one. That's happening as well, so this I'm reading kind of probably as this video is dropping. Yeah, so I don't know. Have you guys been doing a lot of rereads lately, or is that just kind of a weird thing I'm doing? I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, that's all for right now. I hope you guys are on the downward slope to a happy weekend. Talk to you soon.